Geek to me radio, da 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 da. Geek to me radio, da 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 da.
Welcome, geeks and nerds, girls and boys, to another brand new edition of Geek to Me Radio. Tonight, we have Adam Rose on joining us to talk about his new comic from Titan Comics, Huge Detective. After that, we're going to get into some spoilers. It's Deadpool and Wolverine, filled with spoilers with a huge panel of guests. We'll introduce all of them later on because it's too many to talk about now. All that and more, stand by.
We're talking TV, comics and movies, and video games. And if you don't know Star Trek from Star Wars, we'll try to explain. There are 12 doctors for Hogwarts houses, one ring rules them all. To be the greatest Pokemon master, you must catch them all. You must catch them all. Try to catch them all. Gotta catch them all. Gotta catch them all.
And for those of you driving around the greater St. Louis area tonight listening to us on the Big 550 KTRS, hello to all of you. We appreciate you listening on this glorious Sunday evening in July. If you are streaming us on YouTube and Facebook out there watching the video, hello to all of you. Thank you very much for finding us there. As always, if you're hearing us after the fact in the podcast form on whatever platform you get your podcasts, we appreciate you doing that. Hopefully by this time you subscribed, left us a 5-star review. That always helps us out with search engine optimization. That's something you can do for free to help support the show. We greatly appreciate it. A lot to get to tonight. We're going to dive right in with my first guest. Adam Rose has a comic book with Titan Comics called Huge Detective, and he joins us now to talk about that. Thanks for joining us on a Sunday, Adam.
Hey, thanks for having me. It's a pleasure, and I definitely am glad I'm coming before Deadpool 3 talk because A, I haven't seen it yet, and
Right.
B, it's a tough act to follow, so I'm glad I'm ahead of it.
Right, you're the amuse-bouche. You're the opening course, as it were. So to talk about it, and it's still in that comic book realm. And I know Titan Comic Books. I used to constantly get their Doctor Who comics. They've got a great lineup, and you're doing Huge Detective with that company. Talk a little bit about the book, if you could.
Yeah, sure. Huge Detective. It's 5 issues. First issue is August 21st, and it's a fantasy noir. It's a world where giants and humans have to coexist. There's been a murder of a human, and the only witness or suspect is a human who thinks he's a giant, and so they have to bring a giant onto human soil to help solve this crime. So it's like BFG Roald Dahl meets Chinatown and True Detective.
Wow. And so is this something that you'd been brewing for a while and you'd been writing on, and then Titan optioned it? How did it come out that this is working and being picked up by Titan Comics?
So yeah, it was kind of the way you just put it. I wrote this whole thing. I partnered up with Magenta King, who's this incredible Brazilian artist. He did Jenny Zero with Dark Horse, among many other amazing comics. And we pitched it to Titan. And yeah, they do Conan the Barbarian. They do Doctor Who, Blade Runner, you name it. And they love the concept, and they've been an incredible partner on this. We have a Paul Pope variant cover among all these other incredible artists for the first issue, among other issues. And yeah, it's just been a roller coaster of fun. I was in San Diego talking about it at their booth.
Wow, nice.
And just rolling around with this. It's been fun.
So you mentioned several of the issues. My question I always like to ask, because it seems like a lot of people are doing a lot of mini-series, a lot of quick, here's a 4-issue run. Is this an ongoing? Is it just going to be a 4-issue, a 6-issue, 8, 12? What have you got in mind for the story?
Great question. It's 5 issues.
Okay.
And the world is so big. In fact, there's a case file at the end of each issue that talks about what was called the Omega event, where the giants erupted from the earth, and they were hungry and they wanted humans on the main course 30 years ago. And so I have stories about that. I have stories about the present that follow other characters that we will be introduced in this 5-issue story. But the beauty is this story, it's a mystery. It's going to be inclusive, and you'll feel satisfied by this. But Magenta and our collaboration, like every panel, there's some little clue about how big this world is. There's an amusement park that caters to the huge, And I won't even say more than that, other than that it's called Dollsville. There's a lot of cool factors in this. So no, I'm hoping that there's going to be more arcs, but this arc will be a satisfying ride.
So Dollywood was taken, so it's just Dollsville is what we're calling
Dollsville.
it. And so the artwork, like you mentioned on this, the collaboration, every company is different. I love talking to creators who both back in the day used to work in the Marvel method, as it were. Current people, like we just had Jordan Bloom and Patton Oswalt on not that long ago talking about Minor Threats. What was the collaboration with? How does the process work? Does Titan kind of oversee it, or is it you and the artist do your business? As long as we get the pages and everything, we're good.
I guess it's more of the latter, but a little bit of the first thing. So Magenta and I have been like just partners on this. Like I wrote the whole script, but then he came in and we've been Zooming between Brazil and California almost on a weekly basis. He'll show me character designs or panels, and like we just keep building the world. Like even like what our main detective Giant, his name is Giant, spelled Gyant. Even what he wears, we thought about like, well, what would someone the size of a skyscraper even be able to wear, practically speaking? And it's like stitched together like sails of boats from the war 30 years ago. And so we collaborate on every little bit of like just the storyboarding and whatnot. And then Titan, though, they've come in and they give us notes on little things like, oh, we want it to have more of a noir vibe than what we might see here color-wise or something like that. And I also got to say, like, DC Hopkins is our letterer. He's incredible. But Magenta is doing all the colors, and he's doing like a lot of the cool sound effects that normally go to the letterer. He's like doing those just in a perfect style for this book.
So he's inking his own art?
Yes.
That's interesting because so many, I love talking to inkers because they have a very unique perspective on art. Like some people, Joe Giello told me there are people that I hated inking. Carmen Infantino was very easy to ink. I'm not going to name names, but Joe Giello said a couple other people weren't so easy to ink. But it's always interesting when someone does their own. I guess they've got a great idea in mind. This is what it's supposed to look like. And I guess there's no real disconnect that can happen.
Yeah, no, he's been incredible on this. In fact, even his design of our logo for Huge Detective, like if you see a look at that, like I want to see that on t-shirts. I mean, it's got this kind of jagged, kind of crumbly feeling to it, which is encapsulating the world that we've created.
So you mentioned this is a 5-issue series. Are there plans? I'm assuming you guys have already, you're pretty far along in the process because the first issue's out now and everything like that. Are you still working on that 5th issue, or is that done and you're already kind of thinking about a second series?
I'm already writing like a one-shot at the very least, and then like I'm like getting like the next like kind of arc together. And like I said, we have these case files at the end of each issue. It's like the content in these comics. It's like you get a lot of bang for your buck because we have our beautiful like over 22 pages, and then we have like a little short story at the end of each issue that is a case file that goes into the past or the present, and it kind of shows where this world can branch out into all kinds of stories.
We've got our comic book sponsor from Bugs Comics, Larry Quiggins, in. He's owned a comic book store since I was riding a bike. I couldn't even drive a car. Do you have some questions for Adam at all about the series or about the concept or anything?
No, I remember ordering the first issue and looking forward to seeing what the
Thanks, Larry. I appreciate it. I mean, if I could get to St. Louis, I'd love to do a signing.
Oh, that'd be great. I like hearing what you're saying about Titan Comics because since I've had this new store the last few years, I've been watching the growth of the company, and it's really been one of my more favorite new companies that I've been seeing. The Conan line is excellent, so a lot more of my customers are being aware of the company. So,
no, that's amazing. Yeah, having Jim Zub as the writer for Conan, and they just extended him for like at least 2 to 3 years. And not to mention Zoe Thorogood, if you know who she is, she's an incredible like artist, writer, creator. She's also done like Hack Slash and a couple other things that aren't just her. But it's been, I'm really happy working with Titan. They've been super supportive.
Well, it's awesome. So I'm assuming from listening to you talk that if it's successful, then you plan on doing more.
Oh, I mean, I can't stop writing it. Even, I guess I'm currently writing for myself, but I'm hoping I'm writing for everybody.
Sounds awesome. Can't wait to read it.
Yeah, I'm one of those people, like even with, we were talking off air about J.M. DeMatteis, I waited until I got all 4 issues of his Shadow of the Green Goblin before I start reading a miniseries. So once the final issue comes out, then I'll sit down and actually read it because I hate that wait. Netflix has me addicted to binging things now, even with comic books. I'm very spoiled. If people want to find out more about you, Adam, more about the project, more about what you're doing, and I think we can mention it on air because you said we just can't talk a lot about it, but you got to work on the upcoming movie from Sony, the Kraven film. So in just a minute or two, if you could summarize that without getting yourself legal in trouble.
Yes, no, I had the honor and the pleasure, and it's been like kind of a dream come true working as like the story consultant, where basically J.C. Shandor, Ben Grun, they would like ask me to like investigate characters in the Marvel world, and I would get to do these deep dives, like looking at issues from the 60s, 70s, 80s, all the way to today, and just give them pages and pages of notes on different questions about very specific characters. Some I'm sure people know from the trailers, but there's a few that are going to blow your mind and surprise you. And I think I'm allowed to say, like, stay after the credits. But that's probably all I can say directly about it. If you can ask other indirect questions, I'll try.
No, that's fine. I'm excited because Kraven's one of my favorite Spider-Man villains. So you've just ensured that you're going to come back on the show now in December so we can talk about your work on the Kraven movie from Sony, because it's interesting to see these movies without Spider-Man. So I'm very intrigued because I've some of them I've liked, some of them not so much, but I've got high hopes for Kraven.
Yeah, I'm very
well. Not to mention
intrigued.
This is R-rated. That
Yeah.
really, you feel the R in the best possible way.
I don't know. Are R-rated comic book movies? Are those
I don't know
gonna
if
do
they can
okay?
make any money.
That's
Let's
not
look
gonna
at
do
Deadpool
it.
Wolverine again. Oh wait, okay.
Right. We're probably good. Deadpool Wolverine proved that. Adam, tell people where they can find you online, social media handles, and things like that if they want to find out more about you and find out more about Huge Detective.
Thank you. Yeah, no, I have a website, Adam Harry Rose. That's Harry, AdamHarryRose.com. Instagram, I am at Shazam Cap, C-A-P. And on X, Twitter, whatever you call it these days, I am Adam Rose 74.
So Adam Harry Rose is the website. We'll put a link to that in the show notes. So if you're listening to this after the fact in the podcast form, scroll down to the bottom of the page and the link to your website will be right there in the show notes. Adam Rose, thank you so much for your time on a Sunday. We'll be talking again soon, I'm very sure.
Awesome. Thanks for having me. Appreciate
Thank you.
it.
Have a good rest of your night.
Thanks.
There he goes. Make sure you pick up Huge Detective from Titan Comics. Maybe you know a comic book guy. Oh, Larry's here. If you want to go out and see Bugs Comics, Larry can add that to your pull list for you. And just make sure you pick that up. Support Adam. Support these independent, the smaller comic creators, because not all the money should go to DC Marvel, let's be honest.
No, and it sounds like there's going to be variant covers as well. So.
Oh, cool. See, there you go. And Larry said that on purpose because he knows I'm a sucker for a variant cover. Just why. We're going to pivot right now because waiting in the wings is our queen of the cinema. We have Janelle Brimer on to talk about Deadpool Wolverine with full spoilers on this one. Janelle, thanks for joining the show tonight as well.
Hi, how are you?
Good. I know Max on Movies should be calling in here fairly soon, so we're going to have a bunch of us be able to talk. Joey V's ready to give his take on it as well. So I'm curious, we'll start with our guest, ladies first. What were your initial thoughts on Deadpool and Wolverine?
I really enjoyed it. However, I thought it was okay. It wasn't, I believe, like the second coming of Christ, like I guess some people were anticipating it to be.
Marvel
I do
Jesus.
think it was a step in the right direction for Marvel. I think without Hugh Jackman in that movie, I think it would have been an okay Deadpool movie. And I'm thinking of a very specific scene in that movie between Deadpool and Wolverine that I feel like it gave Deadpool enough seriousness, enough gravitas to actually make it a better Deadpool movie than I had anticipated.
Sorry. I'm screening the phone calls. Go ahead. Sorry.
No. So I thought it was good. I thought it was good. It was definitely funny. It pulled you in. It did have, at least it had a plot, and it wasn't just full fan service with just cameos in, cameo after cameo being thrown at you, which I believe, like, I think I was a little worried at the beginning when you heard about everybody that was going to be in it. You were worried, like, okay, well, will this have this any kind of plot, or are we just going to rely on nostalgia and, oh, look at who that is? But yeah, I liked it, but there were a few things that you squint at a little bit, just because if you're going to nitpick, and sometimes that's what we do as critics, but yeah, no, I thought it was good. I thought it was a good, fun summer movie.
There you go. We've got on the phone, and we don't have him too long because I know he's calling in tonight. Max on Movies from, or I should say Max Foizey from Max on Movies joining us. Max, how are you?
Oh, well, James, I'm doing fantastic. Thanks for the invitation.
Of course. So I assume you heard Janelle's points. Do you think the movie, was there a lot to nitpick? Because usually you and I disagree on movies across the board. So I'm very curious as to what you thought was wrong with this one.
Well, we normally do disagree because I have impeccable taste in movies and you have horrible taste in movies. So that's why we disagree. No. I don't think there was a lot to nitpick here. I think that the strength of Deadpool and Wolverine, and the reason why it's making so much money, even for an R-rated movie, is because it knows exactly what it is, and it leans into that. It knows that it is an over-the-top, joyous, violent joke fest, and it really leans into all of that. It's kind of unapologetic, and I think audiences are responding to that part of it.
Yeah, I thought it did a really good job, to Janelle's point, too, about not being all about just fan service, which there was plenty of, and I think fan service gets a bad rap. I don't have a problem with fan service. I want fan service as a fan, but I thought that it did, like I was just telling Seth, who works here at KTRS, he was leaving. He said, hey, did you like it? Should I watch anything before I go see this? Because I'm seeing it this week. I said, you need to see Deadpool 1 and 2. You should see probably Loki season 1. And just for fun, you should probably see Logan, honestly, if you haven't seen it.
Oh, well, yeah.
But also, I think X-Men from 2000, I think that's kind of, at least watch that to get an idea of Logan's kind of contempt for Cyclops. And I know it's not the same universe that we see the Wolverine in this one from, but I think that's kind of a good base layer. Would you add anything to that or take anything away, Max?
I really kind of don't think you need that first X-Men movie. I've seen all of them, of course, just being a comics geek from back in the day. So like you, we were all excited when we saw these Fox movies. We couldn't believe that these things were being made. So I really liked how Deadpool and Wolverine was a love letter to that whole universe. But you really don't have to do a lot of homework. There's people who are seeing this movie now who don't even know who Deadpool is, and they're still having a great time. Yeah. And full disclosure, I have never been a fan of Deadpool, the character in the Marvel Comics, at all. And I think it's incredible that Ryan Reynolds, his personality and charisma, has really won me over to this character, because I'm not out in the comic shop buying these comics, but I think the movies are a lot of fun.
Yeah, I think in the comic books, and Larry, you might have an opinion on this as well, I feel like Deadpool is Marvel's equivalent to Harley Quinn. It's way overused. We get the gag, but it's overused. Would you agree, Larry?
I agree. It depends on who's writing the character as well.
Like Gail Simone had a great run.
Yeah, there's just certain writers who get him and understand the irreverence of the character and such, whereas then there's others who try to make it too serious. I don't know if that's the right word to say, but they don't get the humor of the character. And that's one of the things I agree with him that Ryan Reynolds really brought to the screen, was that humor and charm of the character that is lost in some of the comics.
Yeah, I would agree. So I don't want to keep you too long, Max, because I know this is normally you're off and you're handling stuff with your family, and you're probably watching movies that I've never heard of at this point of the time in the day on Sundays. But what were your overall thoughts, if you were going to summarize for us, and what rating would you give it on a scale of 1 to 10, 10 being the absolute best?
Oh, Lord, I would probably, I'll start with the rating first. I'd probably give us a solid 8. There were some things, like your earlier guest was saying, that I could nitpick on it. I really loved Logan. I thought it was a wonderful send-off for the character, so I was a little annoyed that Hugh came back until I saw Hugh coming back, and he was unbelievable in this movie and very intense. And I loved having Daphne Keane back. If we're going full spoilers, I mean,
Yeah,
they
we are.
had her in the trailer anyway. And I love that she's continuing to play Laura Kinney. I think X-23 is in good hands with her. Overall, I think it's great to have this R-rated seal broken for Disney and having Kevin Feige and everybody embrace this. I think it's nothing but good things, really. And trust me, I was shocked that I enjoyed it so much because I did have such a reverence for Logan, and I thought, what are you doing? And from the opening in sync credit sequence, I said, okay, you've got me.
Yeah, I mean, they handled it in the best possible way. I think it was expertly done. And I think Sean Levy should get credit too, because obviously a lot of this is Ryan Reynolds' vision, and we've got obviously Hugh Jackman coming back, really just kind of making this thing, give it the simmer it needed. But Sean Levy handled it really well overall.
True, and I see that Film Twitter or whatever that is, all the geeks on Twitter are really angry with him because he works on special effects movies. But if you look at his filmography, I mean, way back to Real Steel with Hugh Jackman, he's done some really great crowd-pleasing stuff. So you're right, it's a name that's getting lost in the shuffle here, but I thought he did a fantastic job. I'm a little surprised that I enjoyed the movie, but I guess, once again, you and I are actually agreeing on something.
It's Terminator Genesis all over again. The one movie I think there's a couple more now, but and so you are on right after me. What is on the show tonight?
Yeah, so there was an Amazon Prime movie called Space Cadet, which is kind of like a Legally Blonde for NASA, and that's got Emma Roberts in it. So we were talking about that. And then there's a horror film that just became the biggest moneymaker for the studio Neon of all time. It's called Long Legs. It's got Nicolas Cage, and we'll be reviewing that as well.
Very cool. And again, you can hear Max every Saturday and Sunday. He's a bit more important than I am, so he gets 2 days on the radio station. I honestly don't think the Dorseys even know I'm here on Sundays. They think the station's powered down. But I love having you on, Max. This is great. We need to do it more often, I feel.
Absolutely, James. Thank you very much for the invitation. Have a great rest of your show, sir.
Thank you so much. Be well. There he goes, Max Foizey, Max on Movies. Follow him across social media at Max on Movies. You can catch him there. I noticed, I think because of the way you're piped in through the video, Janelle, and the way the studio speakers are, I think you were having a little trouble hearing, but did you catch the gist?
A little bit, yeah, I did.
Okay.
Yeah, I agree with what he said. You do know what you're getting when you watch the Deadpool, and I 100% agree. I am also like, and to see those two in the fights, I think the fight scenes between those two, especially the one in the void, and then even the one when it got a little ridiculous in the Odyssey.
On the Odyssey.
I like those were like hands down some of my favorite scenes. But I mean, like, honestly, my favorite scene in that movie is when Wolverine looks at him and really gives him the what for when they're in the van, and basically like that, like and again, and I know that, like, me saying that it was okay, I know that's me. I know that like everybody loves the joke after joke, and like sometimes it just starts to wear on me. Like, I mean, it is like he said, like the Deadpool comics. It's like, okay, we got it, and it just a little bit goes a long way. And I think they did a great job as far as putting that scene, because the one thing that I loved about Hugh Jackman, and I feel like we were so blessed to have him for a quarter of a century playing this character, and he made some of made not so great. I mean, like I love the X-Men movies, but they weren't, they weren't Infinity War Endgame level, but they were great movies. And he brought it up to a level. Like, I loved his character. I loved Wolverine. I loved how serious he was. I loved that he took the character serious. I love that he played him with like every ounce of his being. And so that scene is like, you felt the entire cinema go silent when he's just railing him up, and you're kind of like, yeah, you kind of need to hear this. Like, it was like, I just enjoy him. Like I said, we've been so blessed. We've been so blessed for a character that we originally, like, when he was cast, everybody kind of gave a side eye, like, really, we're hiring a 6'2" Aussie to play a 5'4", a wall. So, I mean, it's one of those things where I do think he is the reason that now I give everybody kind of a fair chance when somebody is cast, because I'm like, well, look what we were blessed with.
Yeah.
For like, again, a quarter of a century.
You need to
he
stop
played
saying it because it's
Wolverine.
making me feel terribly old right now. And I'm going to have to go take my back medicine soon. I want to say real quick, hi in the chats. Chance from the Nostalgic Pod Blast down in Atlanta. Hello, Chance. Zachary Nathanson, hello to you. Shannon from right here in St. Louis. Hello, Shannon. Good to see you there in the chats. I want to make sure that we take a quick commercial break. We're going to come back. Larry, Joey, Janelle are going to stay with me. We're going to have another guest calling in about 15 minutes or so. So I'm going to go ahead and get a break out of the way at this very moment. We're going to try to play some of the music that was so wonderfully done in Deadpool, because I love the music as much as I did the cameos. We're going to take this break. You're listening to Geek to Me Radio on the Big 550 KTRS. Please stand by.
Careful, Janine, this airport's haunted. Wow, great plane. It's air sickness. Run for it. Hey, mister, how about a lift? This wicked ride.
The real Ghostbusters, each sold separately.
The Legoland gas station. You build it for action. You can raise a car up on the lift and check the underside, or fill her up, close the hood, and pretend to take a ride. What can you do with the Public Works Center? You can build a crane and watch it drop some bricks into a bin, or lift the door, roll out the truck, and let the bricks fall in.
The action's up to you.
The Legoland Public Works Center from the Legoland Town Collection. Legoland gas station sold separately from Lego Systems.
Puppy, you're my one and only puppy love. You can show your Pound Puppy how much you love him with snuggly Pound Puppy outfits. Into your hooded on t-shirt. We're going biking. Snap your pop's jazzy jacket. Pound Puppies and outfits, each sold separately. Whoa! Now let's walk to the park. Uh-oh, thunder. Put on your dry dog.
For the Lou.
Hi, this is Karan Sony, and you're listening to me on Geek to Me Radio. Lucky you.
Don't call it a comeback. I've been here for
We did not get enough Dopinder in Deadpool and Wolverine. The voice of Karan Sony bringing us back from commercial break. We got to talk to him right before Deadpool 2 a couple years back, and it was, I say a couple years, but again, that was 2018, I think Deadpool 2 came out, so yeah, it's been a while, which is hard to believe, but great guy. If you get a chance to check him out, he does a lot of cool stuff. He was in that series with Daniel Radcliffe, and now that I say that, the name of the series is escaping me, but he's a fantastic actor. I would have liked to seen a little more Dopinder in this, to be honest. Miracle Workers. Thank you, Joey V. We'll make sure we tell you about our premier sponsor, the Greater St. Charles Convention and Visitors Bureau. You know them from the website discoverstcharles.com. They have a lot of stuff going on all the time out there, be it street festivals, they've got live music, they've got Frenchtown Days, they've got all sorts of things happening at the Foundry Arts Center, and they've got something coming up not next weekend, the 16th through the 18th, I believe. You can go out there and check out Festival of the Little Hills. You can book your stay for an extended weekend in St. Charles if you're listening from out of town, like our friend Adam was from earlier. And you can check out the art and craft vendors. More than 300 vendors will be set up at this Festival of the Little Hills running August 16th through the 18th. That's just one thing you can check out. You can also obviously go check out Legends and Lanterns, which we're in August already, which seems hard to believe because I feel like this should be February or March, but Halloween's right around the corner. They'll be doing their Legends and Lanterns Festival the last 3 weekends of October. So if you're a Halloween fan like I am, Vincent Price is my Patronus. If I was a Harry Potter person, you would go out there and you get to sing karaoke with Phantom of the Opera. You can learn how to spot a witch from Abigail Williams. You can craft potions with the weird sisters from Macbeth. And you can hear stories from the Brothers Grimm, Mary Shelley, and more. Check that out the last 3 weekends of October. If I'm throwing a lot of information at you and you're like, whoa, slow down, buddy, just go to the website, discoverstcharles.com. That way you can check out all the things that are happening. You can find a place to stay if you want a bed and breakfast, if you want a brilliant 5-star resort, whatever you might be looking for. And if you're here locally in the greater St. Louis, St. Charles area and haven't been out there for a while, I don't know what to tell you. Go out there and check out the new bookstore that's opened in the 300 block, or maybe check out Chuck and Lou in the 900 block if you want some cool St. Louis merchandise and St. Charles merchandise. Always new store out there, and they've got great food all up and down the street, no matter what your taste might be. Again, start at the website discoverstcharles.com, discoverstcharles.com. As we always say, it's an historically good time. talking now Deadpool. We got full-on spoilers, so hopefully those of you who are listening have seen the movie at least once right now. My guests in studio with me, we've got Joey V talking movies. We've got Larry Quiggins from Bugs Comics and Games, and we have Janelle Brimer on at Holy L on Twitter. So we're talking Deadpool. One of the things I thought was cool, I did not realize this, but the information on Deadpool, its 2-week total is now up to almost just under 400 million, pushing it past the long-reigning top rated R feature ever, which means Marvel Jesus has beat Passion of the Christ. I just want to point it out there. We have a new savior, and it is Deadpool and Marvel Jesus. Obviously, I'm kidding. Don't at me with religious comments. It was a joke because Passion of the Christ was the previous top R-rated movie.
And that's domestic. I mean, worldwide, I think it's at $850 million. I think it made its $200 million budget back just in 2 days.
Yeah. Easily. Yeah, I mean, it came in, I think just today's total was just under 100. I'm sorry, this weekend's total was under 100 million, just shy of that, domestic. Do you pay a lot of attention to box office numbers, Janelle?
No, because it just, like, I guess some people are going to go see it a few times over and over, and depending on ticket sales, I mean, like it, I don't really, because there's some movies that I'm shocked that they haven't made, that they haven't caught on, that people don't go see. Sure. And then I'm shocked about what people will go see. So I learned that like that. And again, as a critic, that we should never be looked at.
Right. No, I totally get that. Transformers obviously made stupid money at the box office, and I thought Transformers, the entire franchise, is rubbish. Joey V, you're not a comic book guy, and I like your take on this because Janelle's a comic book fan. Larry obviously is a comic book fan. I'm a comic book fan. You coming at this from a non-comic book fan perspective, what's your take on Deadpool and Wolverine?
I used to be a big comic book guy. When they had them at the spinner racks at Quick Trip gas stations, I'd pick one up, and then the spinner racks were gone, and it got harder and harder. I'd get them at Schnucks and stuff. So when I was a kid, I was really into Marvel comics. And, I don't know what happened, but the movies, they pulled me back in. When they came out around, 98, when Blade came out, I was all up on that. I was up on all the X-Men movies. It was incredible coming out of this movie thinking, who is this for? Is this just for me? Just like a 40-year-old who knows all this trivia? Who is even going to see this film? And then once you realize, it's made $850 million, everyone's going to see this. It's now a curiosity. You're left out of the conversation if you don't see this movie. It is a water cooler conversation type of thing where you just think, well, who cares how many jokes I get? I got to see what this thing is about. What was the original question, James?
No, you pretty much answered it. I'm just curious, as a non-comic book fan, did this movie sit well with you? Did you enjoy it with the aspects of it being a comic book movie?
You know what? Since I was only following the movie plotline, I still feel like I got pretty much everything. But hanging out with you all these years, we've been together a decade or something. I was thinking of you a lot during this movie and how excited you got, especially when they popped up with the brown Wolverine suit. I thought, what does James think about this? I want to know I wish you were in my ear whispering all the little trivia that I didn't get. So that's what's cool about this movie. It's in so many levels. It's either just really violent and F words and who knows what's going on, or you've read every comic and you know where all this comes from. So what got me excited is I can always go back on a deep dive with James and learn even more stuff. I think that's what's going to keep people coming back and seeing this over and over. There's always more trivia to get.
There's a lot of stuff. I know Larry and I were talking when I was in your shop because we both saw it opening weekend.
Right.
And I said the one thing that I caught, the problem was, yes, Wolverine did fight Hulk in the John Byrne brown and tan suit, but it was gray Hulk. He never fought green Hulk in that. Yeah, in Vegas. So that was during Peter David's fantastic run, which I'll put that up against any Hulk author, period, the John Byrne run. But he was the gray Hulk at the time, not the green Hulk. Right. So technically, that was a little bit of a flub.
I think that was on purpose because he was in the yellow and blue costume throughout the movie, and that's the costume he was wearing when he first met the Green Hulk.
Correct.
And they wanted to show the Byrne brown costume, which is probably as long running as the blue and
I think so, yeah, because it had a solid run. What did they switch over to that in the late 70s?
Something like that, yeah. So
Days of Future Past-ish, so it would have been 1980?
Yeah, it was Byrne in that time period.
Okay. But yeah, it's I did like all the comic book covers, and I know Janelle, as a comic book fan, you probably caught them all too. It's like the Days of Future Past. And the little 5'4" Hulk, to your point earlier, Janelle, that it is a little short actor. He jumps off the bar stool. That was funny. And the X-Men, Uncanny X-Men 251 cover where he's nailed to the big giant X after the Reavers have come through the Outback.
Yeah.
So I like that we got all those. And the Henry Cavill one was the one that shocked me the most. How they kept that under wraps, I'll never know.
That was a good joke. And I think on the internet, there was all that talk about how he was going to take over and be Wolverine.
Right.
And I think that was a nod to that rumor.
That rumor mill.
Yeah.
And they keep talking like Daniel Radcliffe. I guess might be coming in as the new one. Do you have, as a Wolverine fan, Janelle, do you have any thoughts on Daniel Radcliffe becoming Logan?
Again, I will go back to what I said before. Because of the casting of Hugh Jackman, again, let me say it, almost 25 years ago, I'm open to whoever they bring in, as long as they, again, it just shows if you take the character serious, which is a little bit of the part, one of my main, it just rubbed me wrong, was the Channing Tatum Gambit cameo. It rubbed me wrong because I felt like he was just, I understood he was there as a joke, but I didn't like that he was just there as a joke. Like all the rest of the characters, Elektra, Blade, Daphne Keene, is X-23. They had all been established. They had all played their characters seriously. They all had their time on the movie. And so like they were serious, who were then put into a Deadpool movie and then made to have jokes and, interactions with Deadpool around it. Channing Tatum's Gambit was such a joke that it was kind of jarring and just kind of took me out. Like, I just like, okay, we're doing, like, if they would have brought Taylor Kitsch, who had played Gambit in, I guess, X-Men or Wolverine Origins.
Yeah, X-Men Origins.
Who had actually played Gambit, not just somebody who wanted to play Gambit and then, we're giving you your shot. And now what we're going to do is we're just going to make fun of you for wanting that so badly. Like,
I know. I didn't mind it because he had that when they were talking about this is our chance at a final redemption arc, our chance at an ending, and then Tatum Channing said most of us feel like we spent our whole lives in the void because that was the production of he wanted this Gambit movie and he tried to get it made so many times. So that little line alone to me kind of justified it. I'm like, oh, okay, he wanted this really bad. He wanted it, and it's not like, hey, would you be willing to do this one-off joke role? So I see what you're saying, but just from that standpoint.
It was a lot of joke. It was a lot of joke at his expense. Because the thing is, again, I was gonna say, like, his action scenes were great. That's like, I enjoyed them treating his character seriously because, like, you're already in a Deadpool movie. There's already gonna be 1,000 jokes about everything. But I felt like just the joke of it, like him being them making fun of his dialect and just like they just made that was my thing. It's like, we could have had a better.
She hates people from New Orleans. I think if you met a real person from New Orleans, you'd say, "Knock it off."
No. Janelle is a big LSU fan, so let's not do that.
For the rest of the remainder of the show here, Joey V and Janelle are just going to fight. We're just going to have them argue about the pros and cons of Louisiana. That was one of my favorite jokes that they made too, because to your point, there were so many jokes. This one really stood out to me when they go into the giant corpse of Giant Man and his hands open up and then the skull pops open and he just delivers that. Yeah, Paul Rudd finally aged. That again was one of those little quips that it was almost as an aside, but I laughed out loud so hard at that.
Joke's great.
I thought, did you have like not knowing a lot of the inside baseball, like the Gambit stuff we're just about, Joey? Did you have a favorite joke or quip or something that was?
Well, all the inside baseball for me is the movie stuff. And what's so incredible is this is a giant film dedicated to corporate mergers that everyone's getting excited about. Because to me, none of this matters. This is like a theme park ride at Universal. Like there's a Spider-Man ride at Universal. You don't wonder if that's canon or anything. You just have fun while you're there. I don't think any of this stuff really matters, except that it makes a lot of money for people. But just while you're in it, just enjoy the jokes. And anyone has the ability to make a joke about anything. Nothing's off topic. And, one of my favorite jokes was actually making fun of Gambit, saying, like, I think we're missing a lot of important exposition here.
Right.
Just because with his New Orleans accent. And then also, like, was your dialect coach the Minions?
That was one of my favorite
funny.
jokes, yes.
Mm-hmm. So I love the movie, but, you have to explain this to people sometimes that, okay, Stan Lee was on, I believe, he was on Hard Times, gave up the rights to the theme parks to one company, gave up the rights to the movies to another company. All these Marvel characters got split up. 2017, Disney attempts to buy it. 2019, it goes all the way through. And then there's this limbo where what do we do now to get these guys to hang out? And this is like the big kick down the door moment of corporate mergers where, after COVID and, trying to figure out what the plot of this movie was going to be now that Logan was dead, it's not till like August 2022 that Hugh Jackman agrees to come back, and then it all comes together and it gets solidified. So it's weird just to think if Stan Lee hadn't have sold these rights off, we wouldn't have this movie right now.
Yeah, technically, I guess that is a domino effect, kind of a butterfly effect, whatever, some kind of an effect. So yeah, I see what you're saying.
He's such
the Stan Lee effect.
Yeah, there you go.
He's such a negative guy, Deadpool, that if all these movies were great, like where would this be? Like he needs something to make fun of. So if all the movies are just great from now on, where does he fit in this situation where he just gets to be a keyboard type of, what is that, keyboard warrior? People who just sit there and make fun of stuff on the internet. That's kind of what he feels like to me.
Yeah, I can see that. I can see it. We need to take one more commercial break, so we're going to head out with one of my favorite uses of the songs in the movie was Madonna's Like a Prayer. So we're going to play that as we go out to commercial break. You're listening to Geek to Me Radio. My guests are Janelle Brimer, Larry Quiggins, Joey B. Soon joining us, BK on the air. We'll be right back with more after this. Stand by.
Hundreds escaping.
Okay in there?
Okay, Dad. But we won't be safe till we're rid of Hundred.
Hundred the Conqueror, Max Steel the Leader, Wrecker the Demolisher, each sold separately, new from Ideal's RoboForce.
Long ago at Rose Petal Place, Orchid met Nastina, the evil spider.
Dolls sold separately.
Oh no, Orchid, it's Nastina. Wait till I tiptoe through your tulips, Rose Petal. Watch out, Nastina, the sky is falling. I won't fall for that. Gotcha. That'll keep her in her place.
Rose Petal, Nestina, and Orchid dolls come with all you see here, each sold separately, new from Canada.
Seaweed's Tropicals.
It's Kenner's Seaweed's Tropicals. Camille, Baby Cascade, and Pelly Pelican. She's tan, has pretty blue hair you can comb, and looks cute in a little grass skirt. You can collect Flora Tropical, Baby Finella, and Little Dog Doubloon.
Seaweed's Tropicals.
Call Dalco first, 314-298-7300.
This is Kevin Conroy, the voice of Batman. You're listening to Geek to Me Radio.
There was a small little knife jab at DC Comics when he was talking to Henry Cavill, Logan. He's like, we'll treat you better than those guys down the street. That was a nice little nod to DC Comics. But I always have to come back with Kevin Conroy at least once per show. Ever since we lost him in 2022, very sad that we no longer have Kevin Conroy in the world with us. We'll make sure we tell you about, speaking of comic books, speaking of Deadpool, speaking of Batman, Bugs Comics and Games, our official comic book sponsor. We've got Larry in studio with us, the owner of Bugs Comics and Games. He's got the Avengers Club set up if you want to save money on your weekly pull list, if you want to find out more about Deadpool, things like that. Join the Avengers Club. That way you can start saving money on your new comics, your back issues, your toys, your games, your cards, you've got toys, you've got a little bit of everything in the store. And it's always something new every time I go in there. I feel like you've got more new stuff on the shelf. So if you're in the greater St. Louis, St. Charles area and you haven't made the trip out there yet, Bryan Road in O'Fallon, Missouri, right there between Highway 70 and Highway 364. Easy to find. And if maybe your local comic book shop closed where you are, if you're listening to this from out of state, you can have Larry himself be your new local comic book store. Follow him on Instagram and Facebook. He's been posting stuff on Instagram. So if you see something you like, say, oh, I want that. Put a note, say, I claim this. He'll send you a PayPal invoice and ship it right to your door. Really easy. Whether you're wanting to get into the new Deadpool comics, maybe you're a longtime collector and you want to check out some of the new stuff like Huge Detective from our friend Adam Rose at the beginning of the show. Make Bugs Comics and Games your new comic book store. Bugs Comics and Games on Facebook. And again, find him on Instagram, Bugs Comics and A&D Games there as well. If you're local, again, join the Avengers Club. Start saving yourself some money. He's going to be at a comic book show coming up in September, I think, at, where's that one located?
The St. Andrews Theater.
St. Andrews Theater, okay. Out in September. He'll be out there with that one, too. And he's always set up at Toy Man, so you can see him there and get a sampling of what he's got in his store. Bugs Comics and Games. Very proud to have them as the official comic book sponsor here on Geek to Me Radio. We're going to jump to the phone lines. This is a full show tonight, and I love it. We've got our friend BK from BK on the Air, Cartersville, Georgia, WBHF, talking to us about Deadpool. He was nice enough to have me on his show opening weekend, and we were having to do, spoiler-free stuff. BK, you can let the spoilers fly now, buddy. What do you think?
Well, I saw that you tagged the real Hugh Jackman in your Twitter post tonight about your upcoming show tonight. You said you should call in, and I was gonna call and try to act like I was Hugh to your producer, but my Hugh sounds more like Russell Crowe, so it doesn't really work out very well.
I understand. It happens to the best of us.
It's what can I say about it? It's a Deadpool movie. Will you agree with me, everybody? It is.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
I mean, it definitely is. I still think I prefer the first one. The first one is classic. It's great. But I think Deadpool and Wolverine is probably my second favorite out of the Deadpool movies so far. It does a lot. I don't think it does a lot to further Marvel's next phase. I mean, even the post-credit sequence, nothing really shattering to propel us toward whatever doomsday with Doctor Doom that we're headed toward. Nothing else. But it was lighthearted. Everything fit, and I gave it a thumbs up. I gave it like an 8.5. I think I told you the other Saturday I gave it an 8.5 out of 10.
Yeah. I think my estimation, because I don't know if I gave a number when I had the time to be with you on the air down there in Cartersville, Georgia on WBHF. I think, honestly, this movie for me is a 10 out of 10. It fired on all cylinders. I've progressively liked each Deadpool movie more than the one before it. The second one I liked because Juggernaut's my favorite Marvel villain of all time. We got to see an absolute brawl between Colossus and Juggernaut, just like that glorious Uncanny X-Men number 183, John Romita Jr. cover. So I've liked each one progressively. I feel each movie is built a little bit more onto what we get out of Wade as the movie goes on. I felt this one had a lot of heart. And obviously, Hugh Jackman coming back definitely beat out Josh Brolin as Cable for me. But not to take anything away from Josh Brolin, because that was a great move. But I like this overall. And I know Janelle probably doesn't agree with me. Do you have a favorite out of the three so far then, Janelle?
First one. I really did like the first one. I thought it was kind of a breath of fresh air when it came to Marvel. I thought it was something that was it was at that time, kind of unique. I thought he encompassed that role perfectly. I really liked the first one.
Okay.
The best.
And Larry, you said the first one's still your favorite. Is that correct?
Yes. I kind of have I'm going to show my age here. I kind of have the parallel to the first three Indiana Jones movies to me.
Okay.
It's not that I didn't like Temple of Doom. I just liked The Last Crusade better than I like Temple of Doom. And I feel the same way at this one. There's nothing going to replace the first Deadpool movie. It had its unique charm that you're just not going to strike again. This one, and I agree with her, the very heavy flavoring of Hugh Jackman made this one, to me, on par with the first one. The second one I really loved, but I think it was stronger than that.
And BK, we were talking before we had you on the phone about our favorite joke or quip from Deadpool and Wolverine. Did you have a particular favorite one?
Well, I think, I don't know why, and I can't say all the language because they did count the F words in the movie, and I think it was 100. There was 100 times they used it. But there was a part where he's about to fight Sabretooth, and Deadpool goes, "Wait, time out." And he's like, "You can't face him with all these swords." He starts pulling all the swords out of him and everything. And he just tells him how to fight him. And Hugh Jackman just kind of turned around and goes, "Will you shut up?" And he just goes, "Oh my God," and just backed away. I don't know why that just floored me, and I laughed, but it was hilarious.
Yeah, there was a lot of great jokes. I loved all they poked fun at Disney. They poked fun at. I like the joke between him and Blind Al when he was, "Hey, cocaine's the one thing we can't talk about. Disney said so. And they
Right.
start going off on the
Right.
different, the different words for cocaine.
Right.
Ryan Reynolds like, no, they've got a list. They've got them all down.
James, do you have a
Snowman.
particular point where the audience lost their minds in the movie? Because I'll tell you where it happened with me right quick, and I didn't expect them to react so highly to this. Is when Wesley Snipes walked out as Blade. That's when my audience that I saw it with just cheered like crazy, and I think it was great, but it was kind of unexpected. I thought there were other places to cheer, but they really cheered there.
And that was, I did not, like I said, I stayed away from the internet because it's horrible about spoilers, especially Twitter is really bad about people spoiling things. But I stayed away. So honestly, having done that helped me because I did not know Wesley Snipes and Jennifer Garner were going to be in this. So when they played that theme music for Blade as he walks out, and that was another one of my favorite jokes. Obviously, if you know all the backstory with the troubles and tribulations that Mahershala Ali's Blade movies had getting off the ground. Joey V pointed out that it was 2019 when they first announced that movie. And Wesley Snipes' thing, there's only one Blade. There's only ever going to be one Blade. And they pan to Ryan Reynolds, and he's just nodding his head. That was a fantastic joke. I loved it.
Yes.
There may still be only one Blade if this
Might be,
continues
that's
to
right.
stall.
Right, exactly.
I will tell you that there was one sequence I thought went on too long, and I could have had them edited out. And it doesn't ruin the movie for me, but I think it would have trimmed it a little bit better, is the fight scene in the van in the woods with the Grease song playing. I think that could have been a quick montage fight and end with it because they had fought already.
Yeah.
So I think that one was the one that I'm like, okay, here's another fight. It's going on a little too long. But other than that, that's fine. I mean, I thought it was great.
I actually preferred the Honda Odyssey fight to the first fight in the Void, just because it was so ridiculous, and they're making great use of, because I loved prop use, and they made such great use of the seat belt and the airbags and everything like that.
I have to say, am I the only one who got that the fight in the van in the Odyssey was actually sex?
Yeah. Because they're both obviously passed out afterwards, and it was...
Look at the smile. I'm seeing it the second time today. Look at the smile on Logan's face at the end of the fight, and they're laying in the Odyssey. It is. To me, that's how I took it. And if you remember what the bartender said to him, are you guys here to blank or blank?
Yeah.
I didn't get the first time, but when I see it next time, I'm going to watch it differently now for sure. That's for
I'm
sure.
just telling you. And if you follow how Deadpool always talks about Wolverine,
right?
And every moment he would look at his physique and blah blah blah. That's what I.
All right, I hadn't picked up on that, but now it's kind of putting a fresh take in my mind. So. Thank you for that.
You're welcome.
Before we let you go, BK, we're going to go around the room. We'll start with you since we're going to have to let you go here in a moment. But favorite cameo of all the cameos we got, did you have a favorite cameo?
Well, only because he plays my favorite Marvel character of all time. I have to say Chris Evans as Johnny Storm, because Deadpool was so excited that he thought he knew who he was, and he wasn't who he thought he was going to be, and he didn't say what he was supposed to say. But his cameo was great because Captain America hates bad language, but as this Johnny Storm just used all kind of bad language. So
and
that was great.
Last stinger at the very, very, very end. And you can quote me on that. The Chris Evans did. That was fantastic. That last bit at the end.
There's your payoff right there.
Yeah.
Yes, sir.
Let's make sure we tell everyone where they can find you, because you, like me, have an actual radio show on terrestrial radio. That's how we kind of became buddies. So tell everybody if they want to find you, if they want to find BK on the air on Saturdays, where they can find you.
We do. You go on Sunday nights, and I go on Saturday. So we're kind of bookends on the weekend. Retro Nostalgic Geekiness Talk Radio, WBHF. You can find us at WBHFradio.org and download our brand new app for free, WBHF, 10 a.m. till noon on Saturday. It's BK on the air.
10 a.m. to noon Eastern Standard Time for those of you listening in St.
right.
Louis. So just move your clock back an hour and you'll be able to catch it. I usually do the TuneIn app is how I usually listen to BK on Saturdays. Thank you very much for calling in. It's an hour ahead for you, so I appreciate you staying up a little bit later for us, buddy.
Thank you, buddy. Thanks for having me. Always a pleasure.
Thank you. Take care.
Bye-bye.
There he goes. Same question to you, Janelle. Did you have a favorite cameo from this Cameo Fest?
I mean, if Daphne Keane can be considered a cameo, I will always enjoy her. I think her and Logan was probably one of my favorite acting performances. I hope she's probably my favorite just because I'm afraid that we'll never see her in that role as an X-23, and I think she's perfect for it. I think she brings the rage. She is physically gifted. I mean, like, she just has the skill. I enjoy her as that character, as the counterpart to Logan and, his, quote unquote child, I guess, she'll always be one of my favorites.
She's young enough, man. They'd be in Marvel Cinematic Universe. Kevin Feige, if you're listening, you'd be an idiot not to sign her to a 5-picture deal now and lock it in.
I think the fact that she was at the party at the end of the movie, that she is now integrated into the Marvel Universe.
I would hope so.
And we're going to see her
But
again.
that's just the thing is that was Earth 10,005. He's still not in 616.
But I think they can easily pull him in because now they've got that ability and the TVA are aware of him. He saved the thing. So I can easily see, because again, the money this movie made, you can't tell me Hugh Jackman's not going to do another one.
Oh, yeah.
I'm sure. I just was I was wishing that he would have been fully integrated into 616 and to find out that, like, all he's doing is he just basically got a Wolverine to stick into his timeline so he can continue it. It's like, we were this close.
Yeah, no, I agree.
Getting
that would
both.
have been nice to have them all the way fully over in the 616 universe. I do see your point. As we're wrapping up, man, this hour has flown by. Hello, Spike, our friend, that Lost in Space guy in the chats. Shannon says she loves this conversation. So do I, Shannon. Thank you. Before we let you go, Janelle, because we're coming up in the end here, where can people find you online, listen to your other movie reviews? Because you see a lot more movies than I do. Where can people find you online?
Well, I'm at I'm gonna call it. I'm gonna dead name it and call it Twitter. It's at Holy L. It's Holy _ ELLE. Same thing for Instagram, and I am also at the _ Holy L on TikTok, where I do actually my reviews there.
All right, so especially for those of you on TikTok, kids, if you're listening, go check her out over there. Thanks so much for doing this I know it's on a House of the Dragon night for you, so thank you for joining us anyway. I know the big finale, so I'm doubly appreciative of your time. Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
We'll see you soon. Thanks.
Bye.
There she goes. Larry, we'll throw it back to you. Did you have a favorite cameo?
Well, I'll be quick and just say, my favorite cameo is one that if you would have told me 2 weeks ago I would say this, I would be saying you are crazy out of your mind. But my favorite cameo is definitely Blade. Wesley Snipes, who the Blade movies, like I told you, I liked the first one and the others, they were okay to me. But the fact that when he stepped out and him being in the movie, I don't know, just really pushed a button.
Yeah. Joey V, did you have a favorite cameo?
Nice pull. I don't know how they got Ryan Reynolds. That was incredible. No, actually, I agree with Janelle. Daphne Keene as X-23, the little girl from Logan. This is something you should never do, is show someone a better movie when you're watching a movie. So I teared up thinking about, oh, man, Logan was really good. Mm-hmm. I kind of wished I was watching Logan. I don't know if you remember, I was very famous for a little bit. I did some movie reviews for Rotten Tomatoes show.
Yeah.
And this was on TV. Every week I was reviewing movies on television. And the first one I ever got paid $110 for, I reviewed X-Men Origins Wolverine. I glued some chopsticks to my hands. I shaved some mullets on my face, and I became a superstar overnight. And I've always had a soft spot for Wolverine. And so when they made a bad one, I was so upset. And then The Wolverine, a little bit better. And then Logan, I was so happy when Logan was incredible. Best Marvel movie that's ever been made to this date.
See, I think I'm an outlier because I actually preferred The Wolverine to Logan because it was very much that John Romita, Chris Claremont set it, in Japan. I loved that backstory that we got. Silver Samurai showing up, so I'm one of the outliers. But yeah, I think I'd have to say my favorite. I was very confused why Vinnie Jones didn't reprise his role as Juggernaut. That's the one thing I didn't get. All the people they got, and really they couldn't get Vinnie Jones to come back, which I thought was odd. But I have to say my favorite cameo of all of them, I'd have to also go because I was so surprised. I thought they were setting up for a Captain America variant, and it turns out it was the Human Torch from the Fantastic Four movie that Fox did with Jessica Alba. So I think that's my favorite cameo just because it took me so off guard by surprise. Thank you to all my guests. Thank you to Adam Rose for jumping on to talk about Huge Detective from Titan Comics. Make sure you check that out. Thank you to Larry Quiggins of Bugs Comics and Games for coming in the studio tonight. I appreciate it. Thank you to Janelle Brimer for joining us and being part of the show, giving her review. I always like to have a different take on it, and usually Janelle and I agree on most movies, so it's always nice, unlike Max Foizey from Max on Movies, whose movie taste leads something to be desired. But thank you to Max for calling in. That was really nice of him to do that as well. His show is up next, and I should be playing the outro right now, which I'm not. Thank you to Joey V, of course, for joining us on the show to review the movie as well. And thank you to BK on the Air from calling in down in Cartersville, Georgia. Thank you to all of you in the chat who showed up tonight. We appreciate you and hearing all of your thoughts and opinions on the movies. 2 Rivers Comic Con. The website is live. Go to the number 2 riverscomiccon.com. Check it out. We've got some of our guests who are listed up there. If you're interested in sponsoring the event, we've got ways for you to do that as well. Or if you just want to shoot us an email and see how you can get involved, contact information is up as well. The number 2 Rivers, plural, Comic Con, COMICCON.com. Check that out. Thank you again to Joey V for making the show sound and look as good as it does. The reason we have video is because Joey V is in studio tonight, so we always appreciate that. That's it. Thank you again, the City of St. Charles, Greater St. Charles Convention and Visitors Bureau. Until next week, my friends.
That's our show. This is Geek to Me Radio.
Thank you, Earth 1065. Good night.
From ABC News. Airliner passengers tonight got a jolt from a bolt after taking